Brethren, I am done. I am so done with 2024. This has, on the one hand, been one of the best years of my life because I got a pet. But it's also been the worst because of a whole lot of other things. So I cannot wait to say adios, ciao, f off, and delude myself into believing in New Year's resolutions. My resolution? Not have a year like 2024. Anyway, I promised you a Q&A 3 whole houses ago. And yes, this is the 3rd time I've moved since August. Since asking you to send me questions in my community tab, I have moved 3 whole times. How time flies. I sincerely apologize. And also, I think I have time blindness. I took an autism test just in case something is a bit different with me. And it said that I have to pay for an appointment. And when I saw how much that appointment cost, I completely understand why people get diagnosed by TikTok. So yes, TikTok has diagnosed me with time blindness or African time. I don't know, either or. So this excruciatingly overdue Q&A is happening right here, right now. I already recorded about 4 hours worth of footage, but I'm just not in the headspace to go through all of that and edit all of that right now. So we are just going to do a good old-fashioned re-record with a bit more succinctness. So as you can see here, I made a 12-page doc, basically categorizing all of your questions that you put to me so that I could answer all of them. Younger me a few months ago had so much time and so much faith in my organizational and productivity skills. But in lieu of working smarter and not harder, I am going to answer the 10 most popular ones, or the ones that got the most up votes or thumbs up, as you'd call them on YouTube. And I'm going to throw in there some of the questions that tickled me. We also got a lot of dating, love, relationship, and sex-related questions. Cannot fathom why. And although I talk about these things all the time, I am no expert. But there is a magical place jam-packed with over 100 courses on everything and anything sex, intimacy, and relationship related. Brethren, you know that I absolutely love Beducated, not just because it is the #1 online platform for everything sexual health and happiness, but because I can also learn everything and anything in a completely non-judgmental and educational way. And talking about intimacy is very difficult. Personally, I know this all too well, especially the nitty-gritty, the awkward, and the more out there parts of it. I really love how Beducated is for everybody. Men, women, theys, thems, all sexual orientations, all ages and abilities. And Beducated has personally followed me through all the ups and downs of my single life, my dating life, my relationship life. Yes, I am currently coupled. This is a Q&A after all. And this really showcases Beducated's versatility and how they really are courses, theoretical and practical, for everybody. Right now, being in a committed relationship, it's hard work. Communication, setting expectations, and realizing them has been really difficult, but also incredibly rewarding, especially with courses such as Relationship Mastery. This is a course that I've personally incorporated into my relationship. Navigating all the phases of a relationship, especially when the honeymoon period is over and real life starts to take over, is sort of kind of heartbreaking, but at the same time is very natural. And having somebody to actually explain that for me, to go through it with me, to delve into all the emotions, the anxieties, the tendency to compare yourself to what you see on social media and just publicly with other people, has taken a huge weight off my shoulders and really shows me how complex relationships are, but not so complex that I can't actually make my relationship work. Beducated's 2024 sex report did a thorough breakdown into our sex lives, and basically emotional connection is lacking, but it's what we find most important. And I've found, and I still find in my relationship, emotional connectivity to be very difficult and very vulnerable. And this course and others like it have really helped me to understand myself more and to understand my partner. It's an invaluable resource because it's really hard to talk about these things, even to ourselves. And this is the perfect time to treat yourself or a loved one to the gift of sexual happiness. Based on personal experience, this is a gift that will truly last a lifetime. I guarantee you that. And if you use code KIDOLOGY, you will get an incredible, invaluable 40% off your Beducated yearly pass. And it gets better because one thing I really do love about Beducated is that it is completely risk-free. You get a 14-day money-back guarantee, and you also get a 24-hour free trial period just to test the waters and see how you feel and how you enjoy it. So remember, that is code Kidology to get 40% off your Beducated yearly pass. Thank you so very much to Beducated for sponsoring this video. The wind is blowing outside and I think it is about to blow my little house all the way to Kansas. So let's get this Q&A on the road. Now, brethren, you know I love you in a parasocial sort of way, but you ask some of the weirdest questions I have ever seen in my entire life. Do you like California burritos? Do you have a favorite SpongeBob moment you reference? Do you think Tekken 8 can match the success of Street Fighter 6 first 6 months of release? What is the best Final Fantasy and why is it 7? Okay. But I do appreciate the non-serious questions because I think we do take life far too seriously and I think it is to our detriment. So I am going to entertain these questions to the fullest. No, I've never tried a Californian burrito, but I assume that I like burritos, but I don't know because I haven't actually had one. So I will say that yes, I probably am a fan if I had one. And brethren, I'm so sorry, but the other questions are in a different language. I cannot even answer them. But I'll happily answer the other non-serious questions. What kind of workouts are most effective for you at the gym? One thing that you do need to really know about me is that I am, self-admittedly, no shame, but also great shame, a gym bro. Safina. The way that I distress and detoxify is not by meditating, it's not by doing yoga, it's not by breath exercises, it's by going to the gym, doing a circuit, doing cardio, and being unable to walk for at least 5 hours afterwards. If I'm not sweating and getting mascara in my eyes, if my wig isn't collecting stench from my odor, from the amount of heat emanating off of my body, then I just... There's no point to life, quite frankly. Because yes, I have a gym wig and I wear makeup to the gym. At least I still go. At least I still go. And you know, this is just a little secret, but if I could be a fitness influencer, I would love to be a fitness influencer. I think the main problem with that is it's such an oversaturated market and I eat like crap. Last night for dinner, I had a bowl of microwave popcorn and a bag of strawberry frutillas. I do have an emotional attachment to the Matrix climb mill. She's beauty and she's grace. She's Miss United States. If somebody gave me the choice between this machine and world peace, of course I'd choose world peace, but I would take a minute. But in order to finally answer your question, I do apologize. I find circuit training, HIIT training, boxing, and probably the booty builder the most effective for me and my goals. I think my goal in life is to shrink my bum. I know. My bum is huge and it's just impractical. I have a huge booty. So it is my goal to shrink it, just to make it a bit easier for me to actually wear something other than black leggings. I would like to be able to wear jeans more frequently. And I know you're thinking like booty builder means that it builds your booty, but for me it's sort of like trying to get it a bit more like compact, you know, so that I can squeeze into jeans. That's sort of my logic. But if you are looking to start at the gym and you want to figure out what you are going to do, I would highly recommend getting a personal trainer, even if it's just for a month or so. A PT can really help you to establish how the machinery works, what machinery is good for you and your goals. And you can then take that blueprint with you throughout your life. It's invaluable. I would highly recommend it. I'm very pro PT. I think it is a great investment if anybody's looking for it, as long as you stay dedicated and committed. Anyway, next question. This might be an odd one, but how tall are you? I think I'm 5 foot or 5'1", but I'm gonna say 5 foot. I remember I was shopping for groceries about a year ago and somebody came up to me and I will never forget this. The first thing that they said to me was, "Oh wow, you seem so much taller in your videos." I have never felt like such a man in my life. What's your new favorite musician and which song is your favorite from them? I actually got quite a lot of music related questions, so I will wrap them all up into this one. I'd say my favorite new musician at the moment is Grace Cummings, especially her album and single Ramona. Her voice is so distinct and it's so regal, but in this very raw, real way, which I love. And I don't know, there's just something about Ramona that just fills me up with just this sort of pride. I read that the inspiration for this song was actually the lion from The Wizard of Oz. And I definitely get that feeling listening to that song. It's just incredibly empowering and enriching in this very personal way. I find that I associate songs with particular experiences, with particular smells, with particular things in life. You know, when a song takes you back to a certain feeling, a certain mood, time, or ambiance. For instance, I get on the train to Leeds to go roller skating some evenings, and it's very dark, it's very melancholy metropolis, quite grungy, everything's muddy, and there's certain songs that really fit the mood when I'm on the train, or when I'm reading on the train, when I'm walking, when I'm looking at people and trying to suss them out, trying to figure out how they're feeling, what they're doing. I enjoy people watching. Black Sheep, The Choice Is Yours revisited, Another Sky, Swirling Smoke, The Smile, Panavision, Train for Tomorrow by the Electric Prunes. In terms of what I listen to at the moment, I would say that I primarily listen to Alt J, Uncle, Nalufa Yanya, Moonchild Sanelli, St. Vincent, Caroline Polachek, Christine and the Queens or Raheem Redcar, The Smile, Another Sky, Liz Lawrence, and Tchaikovsky. An up-and-coming singer who I really like and who I'm quite excited for is Brody Milner. I really like going through Spotify and listening to random indie musicians and just going down the rabbit hole. I love how with Spotify you can just do this in the way that you can with Wikipedia. You can just go into this rabbit hole of stuff that you did not intend to find out about. That is a true hobby of mine. If you have under 12 monthly listeners, I want to hear your music and I am listening to your music. What is one of your favorite movies in cinematography history? That's a tricky one. That is very, very tricky. That is a question that cannot be answered. I love film and I love cinematography. But off the top of my head, I think a film that I think is not necessarily my favorite or not necessarily what I think is the best, but is, I would say, one of my favorites and is memorable and always in my mind. I watch it at least once a year, is The Duke of Burgundy. If you're talking about cinematography alone, the cinematography is immaculate. It's very distinct. The entire experience of watching the film feels like you are wearing rose-tinted glasses, quite literally. Everything is beautiful, everything has its place, but you can also feel that there's dust. You can feel that if you take your glasses off, you're going to see the truth. And that's very much what the film is about. And it's a very sad ending in its own way. I think I like the very personal aspect of it. I like how the personal, very self-interested nature of the film is created by the fact that it is presented as being in this microcosm, in this little world where there are noticeably no men whatsoever to be found or seen anywhere, where the world just seems to revolve around 2 to 3 people. I do like the self-indulgence of the film, but it's a very good homage to the trials and tribulations of love. What's your most favorite Meryl Streep film ever? I'm not going to be a grammar Nazi. I'm not going to do it. But my most favorite Meryl Streep film ever. I can't really pick one. I don't really watch a lot of Meryl Streep films anymore, intentionally, but also just organically as a result of just life and time and everything. But I'd say my most memorable Meryl Streep, it's not a film, it's actually a limited series, is Angels in America. The play has a very, very special place in my heart. Very, very special place in my heart. I would give anything to see it live. But yes, Angels in America, I thought that the entire ensemble, the entire cast was just exceptional. Absolutely amazing talent on display. And I think Meryl Streep is at her best when she's working with actors who she can really feed off of. And I think it was a very trying role because she was playing multiple roles in this series. It really showed her abilities and her capabilities as a thespian. What brings you hope, joy, and makes you giggle? Very interesting question. I'd say that what brings me hope, just off the top of my head, are younger generations. I am very hopeful of younger generations. I'm hopeful in that, firstly, they're just not my generation. And I'm also hopeful in that I think that they will be able to learn from our mistakes, hopefully, especially on social media. I think the next generation may not even engage with something like X or with the culture on X. Not to say that'll be an improvement, but I think that there will just be difference. And I think difference is always a good thing. I think when I see people from different walks of life, from different viewpoints and experiences coming together and building lives together, either personally or interpersonally, when I see these people forming some kind of commonality or kinship, that gives me a lot of hope. I think that that's the South African in me, very much sort of having that feeling of a hope for a sort of rainbow nation, I guess. I guess that's the only sort of sense of patriotism that I have towards South Africa. But yes, that kind of thing gives me a lot of hope. It definitely does. I can't really answer what makes me giggle. I can't really answer that question. I feel that a lot of things have the potential to make me giggle and laugh. I don't do a lot of laughing that isn't just laughing at sort of the absurdity of something. What makes me laugh? What makes me laugh? What makes me laugh? YouTube drama. Gosh, that makes me giggle. It does. I am a connoisseur of YouTube drama. I follow YouTube drama. It is a guilty pleasure of mine. I follow pretty much every community on YouTube. Drama community, commentary community, slop community, Amberlin Reed community, life doll community, everything. I'm there. It is very good ambient TV in the background when I'm editing. So yes, I'm pretty much up to date with a lot of drama on the internet. And it does make me giggle. It really does make me giggle, I must admit. It's just fascinating seeing these microcosms, these subcultures and communities, and what we take so seriously and what we don't, and how in the greater scheme of things, none of it really matters. But then not falling into that sort of nihilistic thinking is important. And it's just interesting, the sort of traditions and symbols that people have around things that otherwise do not matter in just everyday life, or as I said, in the greater scheme of things. I find it highly entertaining, and it does make me chuckle a bit. It makes me giggle. I definitely get a sense of joy when I've made a video that I really like, or that I have, I wouldn't say a passion for, but that I've really enjoyed the process of writing the script, that I've had time to really cultivate and to put out. When I put out a video that I'm actually quite proud of, or that I enjoyed making, even though it was difficult or took a lot of time or what have you. So yes, I'll say that that brings me quite a bit of joy. There is a lot of satisfaction, most definitely, in the human ability to make something and to see that thing that you've made, and to see the process of it being made, and to have a say in every single process of the chain of production, and to see the final product. There's something quite remarkable in that, irrespective of how small that thing is that you've made. Even if you've just baked a cake or like baked a cookie or something, I think there is really something, that little spark of joy that comes from knowing that you made something, that you made something out of nothingness, or out of a whole plethora of sporadic individual things, and it's sort of just come together into something that is yours, that you've done, that you can put your name to. It's a really great feeling. Now, I got a lot of serious questions, and I think I'll do a separate video on this, because I'm not in a very good headspace at the moment. This, as I said, this has not been my year, and right now it's not a very good time for me. I would actually be getting ready to give birth, so this is quite a sad time for me personally, but nonetheless. But I got a lot of questions about South Africa and being South African, so I'll answer one of those questions. Do you reckon you'll ever return to South Africa for a visit, for some sort of closure, or do you think you no longer need that in your personal journey? On that, I will say yes, I need to go back to South Africa. I definitely need to go back to South Africa for closure. I have a lot of loose ends, a lot of relationships that were severed because I was given a day's notice before I was yeeted out of South Africa and brought to the UK to live with a different foster parent. So it was a traumatic time. I am very scared of what I will find. South Africa as an adult is probably going to be very different from my point of view relative to how it was when I was a child. I miss South Africa so much. I'll probably start crying in like the next 5 minutes if I don't wrap this up quickly. But I miss South Africa a lot. It's a huge part of, I think, my very great disconnectedness. I really do not feel a part of the UK. I don't feel like I belong in the UK, but at the same time, this is all I know, and I'm so incredibly grateful to be here. Obviously, the circumstances of me coming here were against my will. I did not want to come to the UK as a child, but I had no choice. Inevitably, it's offered me opportunities that I could not have ever imagined, and I have nothing but goodwill toward the UK and the opportunities it has offered me. But of course, the heart feels what it feels, and I do feel a great sense of homesickness, and it is something that really does get to me. It's something that gets to me a lot. And I think the hardest thing is knowing that I don't have anything to go back to in South Africa. I don't have a family to go back to. I don't have a brother to go back to. I don't know where my brother is or how on earth I would be able to find him. And of course, I don't know what I would find, because based on how our journeys went, inevitably we were separated. I don't even know if he's alive, and I doubt that if he is alive that he is living a good life. And that is something that is on my mind constantly, and is a great sense of guilt, a great sense of betrayal that I feel, irrespective of how rational or irrational it is. I don't have anything to go back to, and I think that's the hardest part. If I did, it would make it a lot easier, and I think finding that closure would be good, but I don't feel that going back would even make me find closure. But I do think it is important that I go back and face a lot of demons. I follow r/South Africa. It's the only Reddit that I actually follow. It keeps me like sort of up to date on a lot of things. It's actually a very, very good and effective subreddit in terms of both political and personal things that are going on. And people upload a lot of pictures, and it's just, it's hard to see. It's really hard to see, because South Africa, it's a country with so much potential. It's so beautiful, but there's also that really dark underbelly of great inequality, horrific violence, tribalism, and that breaks my heart. It really does. And I think one thing that I have found that's been quite sad is, long story short, when I was at school in South Africa, I was in a boarding school for the last couple years that I was in South Africa. I lived at a boarding school, and this boarding school was vast majority black, but it had a lot of white students as well. It was very intermixed, and I think because we were at this boarding school where there was no outside influence and there were no adults, we were able to sort of figure out the rules for ourselves. And it was a really, on reflection, beautiful thing to see whites and blacks interacting and being friends and forming relationships and forming a family of sorts at this boarding school. And the boarding school, interestingly enough, acted as a very effective shield to the outside world, to the outside politics of the wider South Africa, in a very interesting and complex way. And I was very popular at this boarding school. I was very popular in school in South Africa, not at all in the UK, but in South Africa I was very popular because I was black, but I speak the way that I speak. And so I was a very effective bridge between the two communities and was very popular at school. I miss having a sense of purpose. And it's been interesting, but also quite sad when I go through my, shall we call it, my annual social media snoop of South Africans and of people who I was in boarding school with, to see how in adult life, they've all gone back very much into their racial groups. They all very much have gone sort of exclusively white friends and associations, exclusively black friends and associations, which is understandable, but it was, I think I definitely as a child had a great sense of belief in the Rainbow Nation as well as in the potential of South Africa. And I think that that's going to be something difficult to reckon with as well. I think the people who I was friends with in boarding school will no longer be my friends, or would no longer want to be my friends, if that makes sense. And I think that's quite a tricky thing to navigate. We will see when I go back there and try to find these people wherever they are. I never left KwaZulu-Natal, so I don't know what the rest of South Africa looks like, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, but we shall see. I lived in the heartland of the tribes, land of the Zulus, the tribe that hates me. Oh well. Anyway, I will not start crying. You also asked me a lot of YouTube related questions. I find YouTube so interesting, just as an environment, as a community, as a social media platform. I find it fascinating. I really, really do. I could speak about YouTube and its various communities for hours, but for now I'll just answer these questions. If you committed to YouTube full time, how did you come about that conclusion? It's not as stable as being tied to a company, and I know the arts is not the most conventional job path, especially when it comes to income, and I just want some thoughts. Very, very insightful question. This is also a very topical thing at the moment. I've definitely noticed right now that a lot of YouTubers are having a reckoning. And I think the reckoning is with how hard it is to be a full-time YouTuber. I've recently seen, I would say, especially video essayists, making essays and making videos about how, I would say, unjust sort of the financial rewards are for so-called slop YouTube channels and for very low quality content relative to what they get, and how hard it is for them, especially financially, to put out high quality content, which inevitably comes out less frequently, and to supplement their income with that, especially when their audience aren't as committed as they would like their audience to be, and when, especially because they are typically video essayists with a particular kind of political leaning, they don't do sponsored content because that conflicts with their their political leanings and morals. And so there's been a lot of conversation around this. And I think one has to make a decision if you're going to go full-time on YouTube. I think you have to firstly see how dedicated your audience are, because at the end of the day, the people who watch you have lives of their own. They've got a world of their own. They've got other things. They've got expenses. They've got bills. They have things going on. And watching your video is just a little fragment of their day if they so wish. You can't force your audience to be committed to you, and you can't expect your audience to fund your life. That's my belief, wholeheartedly my belief. I think it takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and also a lot of luck to have an audience that funds you fully. The only channels who I see that are funded fully are these so-called slop channels who upload a video every single day and therefore are able to make a lot of money by being able to do that. And that in itself is a compromise that they make. They compromise quality in order to supplement their income, in order to upload and to keep the algorithm happy. And that is perfectly fine. Contrary to the kinds of videos that I primarily upload, I actually have absolutely no problem with so-called slop YouTube videos. I think that there's a place for slop. I think that there is a place, there is a market for this kind of thing. Sensitive Society put out an 8-minute video about Ben Shapiro, and it was more insightful than video essays that I've watched of people dissecting Ben Shapiro. I think if you want to be a filmmaker, which I think a lot of video essayists conflate being a YouTuber with being a filmmaker. They try to make a film, they try to create an experience, they try to tell a very in-depth story that lasts 3 hours, which is amazing. But I think there needs to be an appreciation that if you're uploading videos onto YouTube, you are a YouTuber before you are anything else. I'm a YouTuber before I'm a video essayist. I'm a YouTuber before I'm a social commenter. And that has certain rules and certain expectations, and there's certain parameters that I have to work in, which means that if I want to be full-time, I have to make certain sacrifices for the algorithm and to keep YouTube happy. It is what it is. And as I said, I think it's quite hard to be fully funded by your audience or to expect that of your audience. And so a lot of people, myself included, make compromises and they get, for instance, a patron, but at the same time, that's also quite precarious, or they do sponsored content, which is what I do. Of course, it's not ideal, but it is the price that has to be paid. I think there very much is a dream of what YouTube can be, and I think it is quite a long road toward that dream. I wouldn't say that I'm at the point where I consider YouTube to be my dream job. I think in about 2 years' time, I will, based on what I have planned and what I want to do and what I see for my channel, I think in about 2 years' time, YouTube will be my dream job, and I will be at that point where I have that stability, where I have that sort of know-with-all about what is going on and what I want to do. But yes, I think deciding to go full-time needs to be something that is very seriously considered. You need to consider that you do not have that safety net of a company, you do not have that safety net of a stable income coming in, and you do need to really appreciate that your audience are not obliged to fund you at all. They are not obliged to supplement your income. And I think that is hard for a lot of YouTubers, especially at the moment, it seems, to fully come to terms with. YouTube is also very competitive, and so people are comparing themselves to others. And I think a lot of people who are currently quite disenchanted with YouTube are doing the comparison game, are sort of looking at other creators who are fully funded by their audience, who are getting hundreds of thousands of views and are making 20 to 30K a month just through AdSense alone. And it's difficult to get to that point. It is very, very difficult to get to that point, and the market is already oversaturated. And of course, as I said, nobody is obliged to pay you. But it is a risk that is worth taking. Not everybody's going to be happy with the decisions that you make along the way, but it is a journey that is a remarkable and exceptional and very unique journey. And so if you do want to ever go full-time, definitely think about those things. Definitely consider what you're going to do, and realize that the dream takes a while to realize. Dreams don't just come true overnight for the vast majority of people. So it takes time. It takes time, but it is worth it. I do believe that it's worth it, and I'm enjoying it. And it is nice to be paid for your ideas, to be paid for your creativity. And that really does make it worthwhile, especially when the comments or the parasociality get a bit too much. I think it's important to not take things too personally. But for me, it was very much a transition that took a while. I went full time at a point where I felt that I did have enough money saved that I could give it a go and see how it went. And then I had to make serious decisions. But I do think that if you do decide to go full-time on YouTube, it is something that you are inevitably taking a risk with, because you may be doing incredibly well and then decide to go full-time, and then suddenly your channel plummets. And there's going to be ups, but there's also going to be a lot of downs. But the ups, irrespective of how infrequent they are, make it very much worthwhile. It still amazes me that I can just talk to my camera and make a living off of that. It is remarkable. I cannot believe that I live in this era, but here we are. Do you feel seen and heard by your audience? From the perspective of the creator, the YouTuber, are your audience people who you feel a sense of connection to? That is a very interesting question. I will admit that I definitely don't always feel seen by my audience, but that primarily has to do with A, what video I've uploaded, and B, how much I've decided to divulge. I also do know personally that my audience is very heterogeneous, and I do think that is very much a reflection of me. I do think that our audience reflects who we are, and based on the fact that I really personally have no sense of identity and my content is just all over the place, obviously my audience is going to be all over the place and very dynamic, very diverse, and very different. I would say that it's in my more personal videos that I feel more seen and heard, and I think that's why I kind of make those videos and do tend to sometimes overshare. I think it really does make me feel like more of a connection to people who are strangers, because it is a peculiar dynamic. It is peculiar to be on a platform where you're being watched by people who you do not know and will never know, and sometimes it's really effective to bridge that gap. I think to bridge that gap where I'm not just here to entertain, but to also share in personal experiences and find a sense of common ground. I would say that my favorite part about YouTube is reading the comments on those kinds of videos, reading people's own experiences, how they feel about something that I've said. I do know I'm really going to enjoy reading the comment section on this video just because it's more personal, and because I think it's going to inevitably attract people who are interested in having that more personal conversation. It always makes me a bit teary-eyed when somebody asks how I'm doing in my comment section. I do love that, and that's something that I don't see on other YouTubers' channels as much. I do think that that's something quite rare, and I really do like that. I like that a lot. I love it when people ask how I'm doing, because it touches something in me. I think it's been very helpful for me to also be somebody who doesn't just make content on YouTube, but also consumes YouTube. And I think sort of seeing myself as an audience member, I see how I would assume other people work as audience members. You know, I don't watch every single video of everybody. I don't always like every single video. I get tired of people and unsubscribe, and I subscribe to random people on a whim, that sort of thing. And so sort of being a part of an audience within certain communities does help me to see how people, I would assume, view me. And so I think that's helped me in humanizing audience members, in not taking it to heart when people don't like my videos or when people don't watch my videos. I know that as a YouTuber, you put your heart and soul into something and it doesn't do very well. I know that's quite hard for people to accept, and that a lot of people, especially right now, there's a climate of people taking that quite personally. I don't take it personally because I sort of see how tumultuous and how difficult my life is in its different ways, with different things that are going on and happening, how my mental health plummets every 5 minutes. And I think that inevitably the world is full of people who are going through far worse than what I'm going through, who are going through what I am going through, who are having similar experiences, and it is completely understandable. So yes, I think importantly for me, I do feel seen by my audience in most of my videos. In the videos that matter, I definitely do feel seen. And I also do try to put in effort to see my audience by putting myself in their shoes when it comes to criticism or critique, when it comes to some of the very bizarre comments I get. The only comments I don't get and that I really don't appreciate are comments about how I pronounce woman. Guys, I can't help it. I'm sorry, I cannot help it. It is what it is. It is just what it is. Woman's gonna woman. Do you care about your ethnicity/blackness? Do I care? Yes and no. I think I care in that I do know that a lot of my problems with self-image, with my identity, stem directly from that. But I'd say no, because I am an individualist. And by individualist, I don't mean that I'm an objectivist like Ayn Rand. I mean that I'm not a tribalist. I think that tribalism is undermining a lot of what is being promoted by modernity, a lot of the self-discovery that is at the root of a lot of of modern life and a lot of our social mores in the modern world. And I think inevitably with immigration, especially with globalization, with multiculturalism, or at least cultural pluralism, there are a lot of children being born in this modern world who do not look like the tribes, who do not look like everybody else. And I think we are doing a great disservice to them and their future and their sense of identity and who they are by fixating on things, on immutable characteristics, on skin color, on ethnicity. And I do find that when I care about my ethnicity or my blackness, the only reason I'm caring about it is because somebody else cares about it. It's because somebody is treating me differently, or somebody is making that an issue, or somebody can't see beyond my skin color. It's never that I'm thinking about it as an end in itself or something that I'm thinking about organically. So yes, it's an interesting question, but yes, I would say yes and no. Principally no. Anyway, now I have spoken so much in this video. I'm going to stop there. I'm so sorry that I didn't get to answer all of the questions. I will definitely keep this doc. And if you've got any questions in the comment section, feel free to leave them there, because when I do my next Q&A, hopefully a bit more frequently, and based on the reception of this one, obviously I'll see how many people like Q&As. I'm not sure how popular Q&As are, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video, whatever this video is. This was more of a personal one. I like to do these personal ones every now and again, and I love doing personal videos. I rarely do, but I do miss doing them. I think sometimes I get a bit shy, a bit bashful, but it's the end of the year and I'm feeling a little reckless. I'm looking a little reckless. So thank you so much for watching this video. Do leave me your comments, your thoughts, your personal experiences and personal perspectives in the comment section below. Many happy returns wishes, irrespective of whether you celebrate Christmas or not. I personally do not celebrate Christmas, but enjoy. Thank you sincerely. I can't thank you enough for being here. It means so much to me that people watch me, especially people who have been here through everything, through the ups and downs, who it boggles my mind. I appreciate you greatly, and I thank you so much for giving me the time of day. It means more to me than I'm sure, than I know, than you could imagine. It really does. It's so wonderful to be seen. It really is just incredible to be seen, to be accepted for who I am, faults and all. So I thank you very much, and I'll see all of you very soon in the next one.